So many of my students have a boring way of describing food. I'll ask, how was that restaurant you went to? And they'll say, yeah, it was good. And then I'll ask, well, how was the food? And they'll say, yeah, it was good. Well, can we describe food a little bit more interesting? Can you give me more information? The words in this video can describe the texture of food. That means they can help someone understand what the food feels like. Everything has a texture, like this pen. This pen is smooth. Or the stubble on my face, this feels rough. Or this teddy, some of you might recognize this. This is soft. But what about food? Use the words in this video to help you explain how delicious the food was that you tasted. Number one, chewy. Well, chewy is like chewing gum, right? You chew it, you put it in your mouth, and you can just keep chewing. And if we use chewy to describe a food, it could be good or bad. Like, take a nice beef steak. Well, if it's a chewy beef steak, it's not nice, is it? You don't want to cut your beef up, put it in your mouth, and you probably wouldn't go to that restaurant ever again. But let's take a chewy sweet. Maybe it's toffee or caramel. If toffee or caramel is chewy, that's okay. That's probably a good thing. I had a very delicious chewy toffee. It's very sweet as well. So chewy can be good or bad. With meat, most definitely bad. With sweets, probably a good thing. The next word is crumbly. So crumbly is when something easily falls to pieces. Take, for example, a biscuit. Take an Oreo. And when you're eating an Oreo, you get those little brown crumbs, they're called. They fall down. So when you were younger, your mother probably told you, don't eat biscuits without a plate. Make sure you have a plate, because the plate catches all of those crumbs. Another thing that can be crumbly as well as a crumbly biscuit is a crumbly cheese. So when you're having a nice Greek salad, you probably have that feta cheese. That feta cheese, when you eat it, it falls into pieces in your mouth. It's very crumbly cheese as opposed to cheddar, which is a smooth cheese. So crumbly, a crumbly cake as well, something that falls apart very easily, produces lots of crumbs. The next word is sticky. When something is sticky, it sticks to you. Like glue, right? You take glue stick, you put your hands together, you're not going to be able to get them apart. Well, if it's super glue, no, but it sticks things together. So this word for food, sticky. For example, sticky toffee. Yeah, toffee, it sticks to the roof of your mouth. It's hard to get out. It's hard to get off your teeth. But it could be a good thing, right? If you have a sticky chocolate cake, that chocolate sauce on top of the cake is so smooth but sticky, right? But so flavorful. So you taste that chocolate cake. That chocolate sauce just, it sticks to the side of your mouth. So sticky. The next word is crunchy. Well, crunchy can be used to describe crisps or potato chips, potato fries, potato chips as the Americans call them, crunchy. When you're eating them, makes that very loud sound, crunch. That could be very annoying if you're in the cinema and somebody is in front of you eating some crunchy popcorn. So there they are. Just, please, can you stop crunching your popcorn? I can't hear the film. So, or maybe a crunchy carrot, yeah, or a crunchy apple. So when you bite into that carrot, it's a crunchy, raw, crunchy carrot or crunchy apple. Gives that loud sound when you bite into it. The next word is gooey. Gooey could be used for something bad, like goo is, oh, I was covered in goo. Like slime, you know, somebody gets a big bucket of slime and pours it over you. Goo, glue, goo, all gooey, all gooey. But gooey when we talk about food. So maybe we're talking about cheese. You could have a hot gooey cheese. So that could be delicious on a freshly made pizza. A freshly made pizza with pepperoni. And as you pull the slice of pizza away, the cheese, it melts and stretches and like goo or gooey cheese. Super nice. Or if you have a chocolate chocolate souffle, and you cut it open and there's that hot gooey chocolate sauce in the middle. I love chocolate. Hot chocolate gooey sauce in the middle of that souffle just pours out like that, and it's good. Like it could be sticky as well. So it could be sticky and gooey. So if you're describing a sauce, like a gooey sauce or a gooey cheese, that can be a really good thing. So our next word is tender. Well, when you describe a meat as tender, that's really good, right? You imagine that you cook your chicken in one of those bake bags for, let's say, 45 minutes, right? It's a slow cook. And when you eat that chicken, it just falls off the bone. The meat is so soft. You can chew it, so just gently bite it. And meat just slips off the bone, and the meat falls apart very easily. It's tender, very tender, good. Ooh, I'm feeling hungry now. And steak. Okay, so I like a tender steak. You know, you have that rare up to well done, but a tender steak, it's that soft. You can push your fork into it and it gives way. You can cut it very easily. You put it into your mouth. It's not chewy. We don't want chewy steak. We want a nice tender steak, a soft steak. So when you use that word tender to describe meat, it gives that feeling of, oh, very juicy, very soft. The next word is greasy. Greasy, well, grease is like oil. So when you're talking about if a food has too much oil on it, it's usually a bad thing for a food to be greasy. Take, for example, KFC. And don't get me wrong, I love a good KFC. The wings, crunchy and greasy. But that greasy, sometimes when you're eating it and you get all of that oil in your mouth, right? Extra oil. Oh, and it's on your fingers, the extra oil, right? So it's very greasy. It could be hard to wash off. You're going to have to go to the sink, get a lot of soap, wash it off, right? So what else could be greasy? Chips, right? You call them French fries in America. So take, for example, if you get you usually cook it in oil. You're cooking them in oil. And obviously when you put them on the plate, you don't want that oil to be there. I know a lot of chefs, what they do is they put their French fries or chips on paper towels and they soak up all of that oil before they serve them. That's what I like to do when I make fried potato fries, fried chips at home in the fat fryer. Yeah, dab all of that extra oil off on the paper towel, and you get all of that grease stain on the paper towel, that oil. Right? If that oil stays on the food and it's dripping off on the plate, it's greasy. It's usually a bad thing for food to be greasy. You could also have greasy pizza. Again, if that cheese, ooh, lovely gooey cheese. But if it's greasy cheese, it's got all of that extra oil on top of it, and it's usually not a good thing. And our next word is moist. Now, moist was always a bit of a word that I used to tell people, oh, don't say moist, it's a bit, and a lot of women don't like the word moist that I've met, especially if you say it like that, moist. Don't do that. But moist, it means soft and wet, and you can use it to describe cake. Please, probably that's the only thing you want to use it to describe. If you do say, oh, it was a very moist cake, that's going to be okay in a conversation because it's a very soft and wet cake. So take bread, for example. We like bread, but we don't like bread wet. We like it dry, but it's still soft. But when it's a nice chocolate cake, we do want it a bit damp. we don't want a dry chocolate cake, of course. We want the fork to just slice through that. We want it to be a little bit crumbly, falling apart. We want it to be very moist when we put it in our mouths. And I can taste that soft and wet, what is it, dough, and the chocolate sauce falling off. So it's okay to have a delicious, chocolatey, gooey, moist cake. And the next word is creamy. So I like a really creamy fish soup. You know that white soup with the salmon in it? I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's a creamy soup. You use cream to make that soup. Delicious, absolutely delicious. Yeah, so you use cream to make it. Another thing, you could have a creamy cheese. So it's very smooth. Yeah, and it's sweet as well. It's very, very smooth cheese. It just kind of rolls around your mouth. It's creamy. So you can have creamy chocolate as well. It's not necessarily like a liquid item like a soup. So you can have a solid food, but it melts in your mouth. It's made with a lot of cream. So just melting in your mouth like that. So smooth, creamy. Something else that is creamy, you could have a coffee, right? Maybe you've had a Raf coffee or a hot cocoa. A hot chocolate, so you can have it. It's very thick, that liquid. It's a very thick liquid, but it's very smooth when you eat it. And a creamy milkshake as well. And what else? I think that's about it. I hope you get the idea of what creamy is. It's quite a thick, liquidy, but smooth taste. And the next word is crisp. The perfect example I can give you this of crisp is when something has a crunch. You'd ask me, well, why not? You just use the word crunchy. Well, crunchy is a little different. Crunchy is when is that like carrot has that crunch, but crisp, it has a crunch on the outside, but on the inside it's soft. So if you take some bread and you bake it in the oven, if you take a pita bread, right? The pita bread is soft. If you're going to put it in the oven for a little while, you just get a crisp top to that pita bread. So you can say, oh, it's a crisp pita bread, which means it is soft on the inside, but it has that hard outer coating, hard crispness on the outside of it. So when you do bite it, it does give a little crunch. The same with an apple. So you can have a crisp apple. So you do get that juice on the inside of an apple. It is soft on the inside, but it might have that bite to it on the outside. So when you bite the apple, you do get that crunch, but on the inside it's soft on the inside. A crunchy apple, on the other hand, would just be a very hard apple, whereas a crisp apple, oh, delicious. Just it has that crunch on the outside, but on the inside it just breaks away. It's soft. So I hope you can feel the difference between a crunchy apple and a crisp apple. Another thing, if you put your meat in the oven for an extra 5 minutes after cooking. Okay, so you're baking it on a very low temperature, but for a long time. And then at the very end, you turn that temperature up and blast it for 2 to 3 minutes. And then you get that crisp edge on your meat. So when the blade goes into it, it's just crispy on the outside, but on the inside, it's tender. So I hope you get the idea of what crisp is. If you want to continue expanding your vocabulary, learning more phrases and idioms to put into your vocabulary bank, then I really recommend this video. It's one I made about idioms and it's been quite popular. And if you want to work on your pronunciation, then I suggest you go to this video here. This is one I made about 3 different sounds, and it's also been a popular video of mine. While you're deciding what to do and before you leave, please leave a comment and subscribe. And now I think I'm going to go and eat my dinner. See you in the next video.